Hey, so AI is going to make strategic intelligence available for Main Street. I believe that 100%. It's going to close a 65-year intelligence gap, and I'm going to prove it to you. I have a bunch of case studies. They're in my white paper. If you haven't downloaded it yet, you can get it off my website. But I'm going to give you some case studies, and we're going to talk about what traditional business thinking would have been, what strategic intelligence was when I was working with my clients and what we discovered. And then I want to talk about how AI is now going to make these frameworks available to every small business. That is not an exaggeration. That is a promise. I'm going to do something about that 80-year, business failure statistic at 5 years that's been around since leg warmers were cool. So I have several case studies here. One of them is a products company, one is a compliance company, one is a service detailer company. And I'm just going to do a case study at a time. I'm going to try to keep these kinds of short so I don't, bore you to death with it. But I'm going to give you case study number one. This is a dessert company. This was a bakery. It is a products business. So if you want to hang out and wait for me to do the other service-based ones or the hybrid ones or the online training ones, they're coming soon. But I'm going to start here. Now, obviously, for my client's protection, it's Jane Doe's Desserts. But let's talk a little bit about this. So back when I started working with this client, it was in March of 2022. So we're going back a couple of years. And the business situation was that they had a bakery and they were starting to do more vegan and gluten-free desserts. And they were ready to expand. And traditional business, sort of thinking was that, hey, there's few local competitors at the time. There was growing demand. There was some production capacity that had some limitations. But otherwise, small business planning would have said, oh, that's great. Let's go ahead and expand some wholesale and let's get your volume up. You already have brand recognition with your regular desserts. Let's go ahead and do that. But here's what happened is we applied the strategic intelligence frameworks that I have built. And this is what we saw. So first of all, we showed that the capacity was limited based on how much production that they could do based on these specialty items and desserts. And the fact is that a tray at the time had basically $99 cost per tray of the desserts they were making, $24 for the food cost, $75 for the labor, and the production price per piece was $2.06. When we did the profitability analysis, though, we showed that retail pricing would have had a profit of $5.19, which was $7.25 per piece. These are big pieces. And wholesale was at $6.23, and it only gave a $4.17 profit per piece. But here's the big difference right up front. When you wholesale, in a lot of cases, you're going to end up with a 30-day net 30 on your wholesaling. So in other words, the business may not pay you right up front. You have to negotiate those things. So we were looking at her capacity, we were looking at the margins that she needed, and also the fact that there were not as many suppliers available. She had one supplier she was doing business with for like the specialty flours and things for the gluten-free and the vegan. And that actually produced a little bit of risk because she didn't have enough suppliers that once this started taking off that she would be able to work between to either improve her margins or just for lead time. So basically what we looked at there was some market positioning, and based on when she was going to do this, we were going to have 3 varieties available. It was over I think it was a holiday weekend. Yeah, holiday weekend. And it was a soft launch to see basically what her regular consumers thought and could provide feedback before basically going all in on wholesale and finding out, which one they liked best. And also by doing this, she was able to generate $1,044 in revenue while getting customer feedback by doing it at the retail first. And the idea, her original thought was, well, I'm just gonna, contact all the businesses that do specialty desserts. And actually what we ended up doing was figuring out that based on the market intelligence and things that we had, that vegan, I believe, was going to go first prior to the gluten-free. The demand was bigger for vegan. So what we did was we set it up to do some systematic market intelligence. Now that was about 45 minutes a day for a week to find the correct restaurants to serve to, or the caterers to serve to, the people we would want to talk to for the vegan side. And so what the strategic intelligence showed was, instead of just going all in, offering both, spending all the money, investing in the things, we needed to do a retail first to protect the margins, building that brand credibility for the new style of desserts. Then we did systematic prospect identification for qualified sales targets, particular restaurants that had specific menus. That was the thing that was going to take the longest. Supplier diversification to prevent ingredient availability disruptions, and then sequential product development. So in other words, instead of offering it all at once, doing it sequentially. And then here's how AI back in 2022 would have made this a million times easier. So in 2022, we had to go to each restaurant's menus online, make phone calls, set up sales calls, that kind of thing. And traditionally people do this, manually, but now with AI, oh my gosh, we could have plugged in certain things, asked questions a particular way, and we would have been able to generate the information that we needed to, basically narrow down the target market we wanted to talk to, probably in 30 minutes, maybe even less. So instead of just doing industry average pricing, also, we would have been able to very easily get some research on some of these specialty ingredients and where they're expecting the prices to go or not go. That could have helped her make a better pricing decision up front. We were able to sort of figure that out. But with AI, it's just better because you can see the trends. You can see where people are going. And this thing is actually now 7.5 minutes. I apologize. But the idea is that with AI, we would have been able to even make faster decisions for this dessert company. And instead of just going wholesale, going all in, offering everything, we had a very strategic entry into the market based on what consumers were asking for. And with AI, we would have been able to do it even faster. And we would have actually had more information, because by 2025, there were quite a few other companies that were offering wholesale specialty desserts that were similar, and we would have seen them coming. All right, I'll talk to you soon on the next one.